kachinas were depictions of what they saw in the sky or was related to the sky people, and in what they became was they represented those ETs, those sky people that used to come to the earth, and this is one of the kachinas. The Zuni have a lot of different kachinas also with like the Hopi. And so if you look at there, it was a dirigible. Now this was before the first airplane ever landed in Zuni. So this was way back. This was probably taken, the information was probably taken in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and of course this book came out in 1929.
After I was all done with my talk and I was wrapping up my slide projector and putting things away, this very stern elderly woman approached me, looked me right in the eye, and she said, "You're right, the government knows all about UFOs and they're keeping it a secret." And I said, "How do you know?" And she said, "Because I worked there." Very matter of fact. I said, "Well, can you tell me more?" And she looked at me kind of suspiciously, and she said, "I can't, they'll come and arrest me." And I think that she was partially worried that maybe I would arrest her somehow, because it was no secret that I was the detective sergeant for the Aberdeen Police at the time.
A light did come out from the front of it, illuminated the two small clouds that I just spoke about, and then extinguished. The sphere continued going up into the night sky. As it did, well, when it began to ascend, I took the flashlight, shined it at my wristwatch, noted the time was a little after 10 in the evening, and I noted where the sweep hand was. I immediately looked back at the sphere, which began ascending faster and finally just became a pinpoint of light lost in the night sky.
We don't just want to say a hoax, we need to investigate it and see what we come up. No, he did try to track that person down, but as it turned out, the person refused to give us any more information, and from that we haven't been in contact with him. So it's interesting that, again, here's that mysterious report, now names are added to it. And going back again, arriving at the scene at around 5 p.m., I guess based out of the report, the U.S. team found all the Mexican soldiers dead. The Americans took over the UFO, attaching it to the giant Sea Stallion helicopter. And after the UFO was removed, soldiers exploded the remaining evidence. And that's another mystery. Why would they do that?
A lot of your thoughts aren't yours, and we're being affected by these other dimensions, sometimes in a very good way and sometimes in a negative way. And so we have to take control of our consciousness and our field. And when we expand our consciousness, we're taking in a greater territory, and that might include some of these other things. So we have to keep cleaning up our consciousness as we expand. If you do the healing techniques in your meditations ahead of time, you're going to have incredible meditations, because you're welcoming the higher beings in and you're cleaning out the other ones, and then your meditations are really going to take off. These are some of the groups that I was talking about. These are some of the reptilian, the gray guys. They do exist. They are not in our highest and best good. This is one of Obama's bodyguards right here, shape-shifting.
So the idea back then was that, well, we have a democratic system of government. We have a government that is responsive to the people. This is the proper way to deal with it, out in the open. But what if that's really not your system of government? It really wasn't the system even in the 50s when people thought it was. It's certainly not our system now. We have a Congress, we have a presidency. As I like to describe it, though, it's like finding a dead body on the road, and you see the dead body and you look at it. He doesn't move when you poke it with a stick. You think, well, I think he's dead. But then you realize, oh no, he's still wearing the same clothes I saw him have on yesterday, so he's fine. That's our country. They're the same clothes. President, Congress, Supreme Court, institutions. Yeah, that should probably. But the body's dead.
And then someone suggested that there were portholes between the sun and the earth. And this was proven in 2008 with the Themis mission. And now we know that there are portholes, and sometimes the explosions from the sun, the matter from the sun can arrive to the Earth in just a few minutes. It is not just a hypothesis, it's a reality. Then again, are these portholes or is this just a mothership? We don't know for sure. These are UFOs from Mexico City. Mexico City, as Phoenix, is one of the places where more and more important sightings in the world.
I decided that I needed to get serious about it. If no one else is going to get serious about it, let me try to find out. I was going to get some people on this. I started getting sent videos from everywhere. I mean, I was not the only one. People from all over Santa Monica sent me videos. I started a group to essentially collect these videos, collect the location, the data, the time. There was 2 separate nights. It seemed to occur on 2 different days. And I got an aeronautics engineer guy who was really good with triangulation, and we were able to find the exact speeds of the objects, the exact location, because we had about 6 different videos of what happened that night.
You saw at the end of that video piece, the clip, the original footage of a saucer-like object flying above Papoose dry lake bed. Lazar had said it would be out there. He told them when it would happen, the day, the time, the place, and they went out 3 weeks in a row. Lazar, Lear, Gene Huff, and a couple of other people, 3 times to see him. How did he know? You know, we're gonna return to this theme a couple of times today, because when you raise questions about him, you should look at the whole picture. How did he know that was taking place out there? There have been no news stories. Papoose Dry Lake, you asked the military and the test site, they say there has never been anything out there, never. There's nothing there, and never has been. So what the heck, how does he know that it's out there? You know, it becomes obvious at some point it's from somewhere else. We didn't make it because we're taking it apart to figure out how it works.
Look, a machine that makes gravity is the most important thing that mankind could probably create. Look, we have electromagnets that make magnetic fields. You know, we can make electric fields, with Van de Graaff generators and, God knows what else. But, to make a gravitational field is like the last piece of a missing pie, because when you can, right now the only thing that makes gravity, as far as we know, is mass. You just need a bunch of stuff, and it's a property of mass that it just magically pulls in things. We observe gravity, we see what it does, but we really don't know what it is. We can throw some equations together and say, well, it works like this, but we really don't know what's behind it. But if you can make a machine that on demand makes gravity, all the stuff we write science fiction about stops becoming science fiction that afternoon. Then force fields become a reality. You can shift time. I mean, everything becomes possible.
The fact of the matter was, again, it goes back into why is a report that's being done on UFOs, which, by the way, in these policies, you're going to see that at one point they labeled them UFOs, and a few years afterwards, towards the end of the policy files, which is important too when you have policies. Why would you have policies if there's nothing to UFOs, UAPs, or defense significance? But all of a sudden they changed it from UFOs to UAPs. So there's a lot of speculation on why. One of the things is as well, they were doing this so if you did FOIA, you couldn't get a response back. They'd say, we have nothing on UFOs. One of the things that I've wondered about is, I don't think they ever thought this report would get released. They classified it secret. It was only distributed at first to 8 people. And I think they may have never took into effect that it might have been released. And I think what they did was, through their research, they started to realize more what we were dealing with.
There's been an effort being made to get it to be okay to admit you're an experiencer. And what I find is that people think other people don't believe in UFOs, and so they won't speak out. I check my audiences, 10% have seen one, but 90% didn't report what they saw, because they were fearful that they would be ridiculed. So changing the total picture, I think, is what is needed. But I don't think the abductions prove that aliens are nasty. They're doing a job. They've got a mission. and we're part of that. That doesn't make them nasty.
Jeremy, these some nasty critters or what?
Nasty. I was kind of born without the gene of fear. I just get excited, or maybe I'm confusing the emotions. But essentially, what I learned from jiu-jitsu is if you got nowhere to run, then there's no reason to fear because there's nothing you can do about it. So unless you have a spaceship that you can take us somewhere else, like we're here, no, I got no fear, and I don't even know that there is an alien agenda. You know, that's a leap for me. I don't know.